Brian, it is good to see you. I mean, you've been on the show so much now. I think we got to punch your card, make you
What do I get when I get 10 punches? I don't know.
we don't have t-shirts and hats, so
I
it's
would take that.
yeah, but you
I
know
take
what?
that.
We should look into that. So, um we've had, you know, now three conversations around this topic,
Yeah,
around some of our favorite people, contact center folks, and
yeah,
how do we improve that job? So we started on how we got here, and I'm not gonna be able to recap hours of conversations. I encourage you to go listen to those episodes. But I want to pick up from where we left off. Where we left off
yeah.
last time was you teased this, teased this, teased this. Then we got to the solution. And I'm like, okay, Brian, I'm with you. Where is the medicine? And to oversimplify it, the medicine for fixing the contact center employee experience is simply
Yeah,
get out of the way, allow humans to be humans,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And just be a guidepost. And I probably butcher that, but give me the elevator pitch for what is the medicine?
Yeah, the medicine is what we call, in a sense, our meaningful work methodology is.
Yep.
So there's the positive is meaningful work, that what is what drives people to work universally, all jobs, crazy enough. And what destroys meaningful work is this thing called grind. And the number one source of grind is how you're managed. Kind of, you know. So if you take that, we said we figured out a way in this methodology. How do you measure that? And we found that intent to quit is impacted by those two measures combined of grind and meaningful work more than everything else you can think of combined. So great, we can measure this. Now what do you do? And it's how do you align and really change the mindset of the organization through the leadership,
Hmm.
through a visioning workshop? What are they going to do? It's a developing others course for management. And what you're really shifting is from managing to developing people. So there is a major role, for management.
Right.
And then it gets into, because now they understand these things, they're going to have less grind for their people and they're going to support them. And then there's this serving others course that teaches these 5 talents and kind of the joy of serving. And what it's really doing is changing the mindset of an organization from, hey, what we used to do was we looked at this and we provided a service. Check the box, measure it, all those things. Shift to, we're serving a person. If I'm a manager, I'm serving, my employee. If I'm an agent, I'm serving the customer. And that subtle shift changes everything. But if you can do it, and most people can, it's great. And what we talked about is the results we've seen typically when people go through our program, meaningful work program, is 25 to 50% reduction in employee turnover, and usually 10 to 25% increase in CSAT and other performance metrics. So it's all great. And why don't people do it?
Yeah. And and that was the cliffhanger you left us with
Yep.
last week, which was so. By the way, I don't want to misquote you. I believe I just heard you say 25 to 50% reduction in turnover.
Yes. Huge ROI.
Okay.
Well,
Uh,
everybody's looking for cost cutting these days. Cost cut the right way. I mean, this is the
uh,
easy way.
Fantastic. So everyone who's listening is going, awesome. Why wouldn't I want this? Win, 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 win. This guy, it's 115 degrees, and he is serving chilled, frozen ice cream. Mwah, delicious, every flavor you want. There's a line on the
Good
ice cream truck.
analogy.
So
Yeah.
why isn't everyone doing this?
So I'll tell you once again, human perspective is so important. When I've talked to so many contact center leaders, and that's who I always think about. I'm like,
Yeah.
I got to help them. They're in a really tough spot. Do you know one of the most common things I hear is like, "This is great. This is awesome. I believe in everything what you're doing and all of that. It'll never work here." And it's like, that's sad. I like
What's the what that will never work here?
and it's because of this big thing is we will never change. Change is really, really difficult.
Mm.
So, as you know, you kind of mentioned, hey, what to do is simple, but to, like change is hard. And so if we now take this idea of grind, of the number one source of grind for agents is the supervisor, who's the number one source for grind for contact center agents or for contact center leaders? Sorry.
The executives.
The executives.
Yeah.
Yes. So I am probably going to go and say things that people
boy.
haven't heard before that I think need to be said. Some people might not like what I'm saying, but it's what we've discovered. So it's kind of getting, there's good news at the end of this. So stick with us because there is a way to even get the executives to change.
All right. So, but I want to make sure I'm following here. Just again, it's not often that somebody tells me stuff I haven't heard before. So you're saying we diagnosed this problem, got to the issue of we figured out why all these things that we've tried never worked. And you said, Amos, good news, we've got the solution. The solution is this program. It's inexpensive. The ROI is fantastic. But here's the thing, though. The road to the solution is the reason the contact center or call center agent sucks is because of grind.
Yep.
Who is it responsible for creating that grind? Their management team. And by the way, the management team is like, I don't want to do this grind either. like, you think I like doing all this stuff? And we're going, well, why are you doing all this stuff? Well, you should talk to those guys, corporate.
Yeah.
And now okay, I am now with you that organizationally we've set this thing up, right? To put grind every step of the way. Good intentions, right? Because to use your words, we are in pursuit of the service and we must control the service experience. And the only tools we know how to control it is by putting it on the assembly line and making it rigid. And you're going, well, how's that working out for you, right? We've been doing that now for decades and we're like, all right, maybe it doesn't work. Now there's a new system that does work, but it involves convincing everyone married to this system up the chain to go, we've got to change. Am I tracking so far?
You are tracking beautifully. That is great. So
okay, I'm caught up. Well, we are here because you've been successful at this. You've shared numbers with us. So the obvious question that my listeners are waiting for is, how do I convince these people that change is?
Yeah. So I think where we started was and we even did a whole based upon 76 interviews with contact center executives. We didn't even realize what we were going to get out of this document. This is the one published before the one that we're talking about, today and reviewing in the big report. And we called it the leadership challenge.
I remember that.
Found out
yeah.
There is a challenge. So, okay, wow, we have this unbelievable program but to tell you the truth, we probably couldn't give it away for free.
Hmm.
That's like, that's crazy. So why? Well, it's interesting because I put in the report that, we published this year, the Crisis and Contact Center Management, and saw that, okay, only 60% executives believe customer service impacts customer retention. What do you think what percent of customers, what percent of contact center leaders thinks customer service impacts customer retention?
I would say much higher. I think customer service leaders would probably put it at 70, 80%. Oh, wow.
Customers are like 98 also.
So the customers and the
Contact center leaders are like, this matters. And the executives are like, it really doesn't. So what do they focus on if that's not what's important? Cost cutting. If you don't see the value, if you don't see the tie to revenue and profitability in customer service, you're going to see the cost and say, how I drive profitability is to cut the cost. So when you take a look at it, and then it's, I also quote that, executives, there's an NTT study, said executives agree that CX and EX, employee experience and customer experience, are the two biggest issues. And they all agree on what's the number one solution: AI. And I just had, to insert something in there from my personal rationality saying, but customers and employees didn't ask for AI. That's not what they're saying they want and why they're unhappy. So how do you rationalize this solution that I'm going to impact this audience in a positive way by giving them something that they don't ask for? And you'll also see that they don't want in many ways. So, and I'll say one added thing of this. I don't know if you've ever come across the Rage survey, and it's
I have.
CMCC, Scott Brotzman. We've known him for years. It's awesome. It's been around since the Nixon era. It's the longest customer satisfaction survey, or the earliest customer satisfaction survey in the United States.
Oh, yeah.
And so to caveat what the survey measures is, they say, what's the worst experience you had in customer service, in a sense? And we're going to identify what happened in the worst. Well, what's amazing is what do you think what do you think is the number one frustration for customers? And if you get it, I'll be impressed.
The number one frustration, I would guess, getting a human.
I think, hey, I give you credit for that. Yeah, absolutely. It is the runaround that they have to do to get to a human, because everybody's pushing them towards self-service, all the automation, everything else. And it's really frustrating when you want to talk to a human. And it's usually because, what we said earlier, because of, hey, my situation has high urgency, maybe high importance. It's a lot of money at stake. High dissatisfaction. I've really been wronged, and high complexity.
Right.
So when it's not high, I do want self-service, and please make self-service good. AI should improve self-service because it's awful right now. But to say AI is the way to replace humans, as I say in my report, I call those people who say that tech delusionists.
I love I love that term. But to your point about I want self-service when I want it, when I don't.
Yeah.
I had a guest on who talked about how frustrating it is. The phone system is always, for faster service, you can go to the website and the app. And I replied, like, it's like, I don't know if you've heard, there's the internet. Like, I know this. Like,
Yeah.
trust me. Like,
Yeah.
there aren't any unbelievers, non-believers yet left of the internet. Like, everyone, everyone.
And it's like, I am here because I already tried that.
Yes, yes, yes. I am aware. I know
Yeah.
you have a website. That's probably where I started, right? I,
Correct.
I am here with intention because that then didn't work. But because
Yeah.
me, your paying customer, in my judgment, I've decided based on what I want to communicate with you today, I want to talk to you. Is
Well,
that
and another stat that I put in there is 41% of people who reach an agent are already very upset
Mhm.
because of the process they had to go through to get the agent. So poor agent, poor customer. Why would you do this rationally? Well, rationally it's because, hey, it's cost cutting, it's saving money. And you know what the second biggest frustration?
Mm-mm.
Being able to find out how I can. So everybody's focused on, hey, we're going to take care of customers. We're going to do customer journey. We're going to do all of these things. But what does it say when you're saying, hey, but we're not going to actually allow the customer to actually contact us because we're going to save money if we don't, if they can't contact us. And we're going to try and force them every way we can to do this through automation or have them give up. And we make money that way. And it's so short-sighted. So you just have to stand back and ask, how did we get here? So I don't know if you have a thought, but I do have a thought, and this is probably one that's going to get me a little bit in trouble.
Well, I cannot wait to hear it. I will just say that service leaders, I mean, senior service leaders, and I've been in that role myself, never finished the job of convincing the enterprise
Yeah.
what an ROI service is. Like we will say it amongst ourselves, right? Oh, yeah, we're doing
Yeah.
God's work and all of this then, but never and and it's become standard now. Like it's now become standard mediocrity or sometimes even bad. And it's getting worse, by the way. I mean, remember our first episode where I told you pick the stat you want,
Yeah.
but pick whichever one you want. I pick ACSI, American Customer Service Index, that's been on an uptrend for decades. And we have reversed all the gains back.
Yeah.
We are back in 2005. So, like, this ongoing. But I want you to go back to this point. So, how did we get here? And I also want to get to how do we move forward?
Yeah. So I believe so. I don't remember the exact year. Maybe it was around 2010. There was an article published in Harvard Business Review that I saw then everywhere in our industry. And it was titled Stop Delighting. And it was, the whole premise was, and this was this movement of, it's all about customer. So stop delighting customers. It has no impact on customer loyalty, and therefore you should just focus on lowering customer effort. So what's interesting about this movement is customer effort, hugely important. It actually is hugely important, and you can tie a lot of data to, yes, lowering effort does make customers happier.
Okay.
But what the people and these researchers in the article say is number one, what's their definition of delighting customers? And it's back to what you said. I think it was episode 2, and I said eventually I'll get to it. Well, I'm getting to it now. Giving them money. That's delighting customers, is just giving them, money
Right.
to make them happy. So it's like, wait. That's a misleading headline. Delighting is giving them money. No. And once again, in the Rage survey shows, hey, if you give people money or if you treat them really well, what's more important? Treating them well. So it kind of discounts that. And then they say, customer service has no impact on customer loyalty. And then, like 2 sentences later, they say, however, reducing customer effort in customer service improves customer loyalty. So it's like, you can't have it both ways. And it's just this frustration of, because then everybody went to, great, I can save a ton of money. And
Yep.
as I mentioned in the report, I'm like, hey, how did people go out after that? Say, wait, we got a new strategy. Customer service organization, it's stop delighting the customer. Put it in your commercial. We're going to put it in our advertising, everything. We're going to stop delighting our customers. And it's like, it's insane. But I am telling you, I saw such a shift in the industry of everybody like, great, we're all about, now we have the permission to just not focus on the people, really, and just focus on cost cutting, because stop delighting customers. And I think there is that level of, that has gotten into organizations, and who gets promoted, who gets rewarded, and to the frustration of so many contact center leaders, are the people who came up with the cost saving idea.
Well, Ryan, when I had you on to come do the series of shows, I thought you were going to kill some idols. I didn't think the great Tom Dixon was going to be one of them, but here we are.
I didn't mention names.
But I've never connected that. I too remember 2010 when that came out. It was such a seminal point. And like anything, right? Like, we just took it too far. You're right. I'd not connected that, but from that point on, the cool thing to say, when someone showed up to a conference talking about, oh, we've got this call center. Oh, not even a contact center. Oh, we just let customers pick and choose when they want to talk to a human. People are like, oh, but what it gave license to your point, I had not put it together, was like utility, efficiency, speed, ease was all that mattered.
Yeah.
And if you made the thing as sterile as get in and get out and no effort as possible, people will love you. And hey, I put in the CES score in my shop.
Yeah, it's a great score. There's a great reason for it. But it's not the reason they gave.
Correct. Because if you just have to pause and think about it for 10 seconds, the most efficient in-person experience I have in my life is probably the 7-Eleven. And case in point, I'm calling it 7-Eleven. It's not even a 7-Eleven. I do not care. I don't have any loyalty to any of those places. But my effort is low.
Yeah.
Get in, I get the thing, get out. I get in, and if they burn the place down tomorrow and replaced it with one with a different color, I wouldn't even notice.
Yeah.
I would just...
Well, so, to double down on probably getting myself in trouble with people, I also then went through, and it's like, what am I hearing from these contact center leaders, and what have I seen and experienced myself? And so I came up with, well, how did we get here? And we're at this precipice, and what's pushing us, over this precipice? and I put it, I called it, and I'll read it off of here, and I can make this available also. The Four Horsemen of the Leadership of. So, it's going to be better if I read it because it's, written specifically. So the first one is the leadership paradox. So what this says is when leaders prioritize profitability over people, they actually decrease profitability because their approach that they take reduces employee and customer loyalty. So, let that sink in a little bit. I'm going for profitability, but the way I go about it is negatively impacting the people, reducing my profitability. The other one is number 2 is the leadership conundrum, which is problems caused by leaders are rarely fixed by the leaders that cause them. So very hard if somebody is, this is it. And if that's part of the problem, hard for them to change and or, drive the solution. So the other is what we call the leadership challenge. And the leadership challenge is leadership does not know how to effectively take care of employees and customers. And as people. And if they don't, it is going to lead to their own termination because they are there for profitability. And if they're causing the problem and they don't know how to fix it, and this is what we're really starting to see is this, great termination that I talked about before, and it's termination of leaders. And then the last one is probably get me really in trouble, the leadership lemmings. So this is executive leadership follows the industry and is highly resistant to change. In addition, the leaders demand that others follow their lead, making it difficult for contact center leaders to rehumanize customers. So,
Okay. Well, we just lost the executive listeners of our show. So for the few of you still on, where I want to go, and my brain is still processing the whole effort movement and the downstream effect. I did a show when we took down NPS. I did not know this show was a takedown of CS. And by takedown, I'm being dramatic,
yeah.
meaning like we
Once again,
overdid
there's
it.
a positive side to
Yes,
it.
yes, we overdid it. But I think this thread I want to pull on a little more, and here's sort of why. That thing is now in the lexicon. It's in our this 0-calorie delicious cake we can eat, which is make the thing as efficient and cheap as possible, and customers will love it. Right?
Yep.
Like like it's now in the bloodstream. And I am now thinking about what you're now saying, this movement to change. On the one hand, the data for change is the humans are screaming. I mean, the rage survey on the one extreme. By the way, pick any metric you want to measure customer satisfaction, what have you. Anyone. And if you're listening to my voice, and you have yours telling you how it's been going up years and years, you are rigging the data. Like it is corrupt data. Because I'm talking about the companies we've put on the pedestal, the ones you like to admire. I'm talking about their scores. Like it's going the wrong way. A fun little thin icebreaker I like to do when I go speak? I ask people to tell me 5 national brands that they love their customer service. And then very quickly they tell me it's too hard. I meant 5. Moss, I go, you deal with 20 of them on any given week. No.
Yeah.
So I go, 3.
Good, because I thought you were going to ask me, and I'm like, man, I don't know. I'm in trouble.
So I think that's on those sets of humans. The second set of humans are the service employees, which we've been talking about as well. They too pick your data. I mean, read the report that Brian and the folks at Fit Talent put out, and it will depress you to the point of like I I read the report the wrong way. So, the report does a great job of obviously laying out, here's the thing, and you have to wait till the optimistic side of this report. That's the mistake I made. So I'm reading, I just put the thing down and I'm like, I this is
You're painful.
like, and it wasn't like I came into the report thinking that things were good.
Yeah.
But you're going to get two things, not to, I don't sell anything on this show, but you got to go if you're interested, you got to go read this because you're going to get two things. There's more than that, but the two things for me was I knew the things were bad. I didn't know why. Like I had
Yeah.
some theories. I didn't know why, and I also didn't know why everything we've tried didn't work. And then it was also the other side of the report. The optimistic side was that, oh my gosh, there is a solution.
Yeah.
And it's frankly simpler than
It's
figuring out AI. Like
so
at its
easy.
on its basic thing, it doesn't tell you got to cleanse your data. We've got to no, like
Correct.
it's actually yeah. And so then, ironically, the obstacles to this are humans, which honestly,
Wow. Now you gave me
yeah,
a shocker, a
that,
good zinger. Yeah,
which
yeah, you're right.
which haven't we been in the human business all along? Like we've convinced ourselves that we weren't. We convinced ourselves like we're the guys in the manufacturing deal
Yeah,
who
correct.
produce a thin. For
Correct.
whatever you might think of it, it's a thin. The thin is the primary thing they're doing. They are trying to crank out this bottle as fast
Yep,
and as cheaply as possible. That's the thing. We are in the human emotions business, and we've tricked ourselves into
correct.
thinking we too are cranking out a thing, and the widgets are
Correct.
words per minute, or like we. And so it's just a full circle back. In the rest of the time we don't have a lot more time. I want you to get to inspire folks
Yeah.
on, we know what this daunting problem is. You are going against the grain. I didn't quite
Yep.
understand. I've known you for all of these years, and I've known this mission you guys have been up to, and I got it here when I really now double click. I didn't think you were selling as controversial a product as I thought. Like, you guys are we're
We
gonna
didn't
fix.
know either. I mean, we started the same process, the same journey, and
Oh,
that's what
we're
I've
gonna.
really been doing is taking everybody on this journey. And it's like I didn't realize the pushback is going to be leadership.
So what has worked? What can work?
Yes. So I'll go to another aspect of another hurdle and
Yes,
then go to that. Because the
please.
other
Let's
hurdle
go.
is, you talk to contact center leaders and then it's like, oh, hey, we're going to change. And they go to their team. Oh, their team is like, no way. We are so stressed. We have so many things going on. We've already have things in place. Like, no, we can't change. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to get everything done you want. So, huge pushback from a contact center's leaders team.
Yeah.
And so it's like, all right. And I got this, quite honestly, I got this idea. And this was from the interviews where we looked and we said, okay, how many people from this are better than pre COVID now? And how many people are worse? I'll just tell you, I think it was 96% are worse.
Yikes.
4% are better. Okay, what did these 4%ers say? And from one of the interviews, it was, they said, I didn't, I got enough permission to do it a different way, an experiment, and I brought the results back. I had better results. And leadership is like, do more of that. And it's like, wow. Okay, let's start analyzing that. So the idea is because we saw it over and over and over again. if you take this as a contact center leader to your organization, up or down, there is almost no way you're going to convince everybody and get all of the approvals and alignment you need. So don't. First advice, don't. It's not worth it. I'll save yourself a lot of frustration and time. And what you can do is say, allow me to, and this is what we call the great contact center. We can come in and with a small group with, doesn't need everybody's approvals and everything else. People get a seat at the table. They can find out what's going on, show up with the popcorn and everything else, but don't mess with the experiment. And we can show you with maybe about like 100 agents and their management and leadership what this looks like. Because I can describe this, we could have so many more podcasts and people still won't understand what it is until they see it. And the beauty is about the contact center is there is so much data. You will have all the data you need to say, wow, I measure everything. And then the other positive, which a lot of people are shocked when I say this, but it's like the other advantage of contact center is the ROI is big.
Yes.
And it's because it's also close to the customer, close to the profitability, close to impacting customer behavior. So you can show, wow, this works. And you don't go back to the executives and say, look, this is great for the employee experience and meaningful work. And it's just, and it's like, no, this is a better approach to improve profitability. And it's much more sustainable because we get to keep our people and our customers. So it's like, that's the key. And when people see it, once again, I described when one of the big, 5,000 agents across 5 outsourcers, how can I explain that many of the, supervisors and even leaders were brought to tears? I can't, that's a human, I could sit here all day, but until you experience it, until you see it, feel it, and then get it, it's really hard for, somebody might say, yes, let's just do it because I need it. But it's even better for the organization to experiment first.
Yeah.
So that they see what's different and everything else, and then they know how to roll it out. And quite honestly, we've rolled this out beyond contact center. It works. This concept of grinded meaningful work should revolutionize how we manage people. Plain and simple. What's great about the contact center is starting there and where contact center leaders can lead the way is because they have the data and they have the ROI. Then it can expand out, to the rest of the organization. But it's got to have, it's got to be nurtured in a sense, or else it will be destroyed.
Well, Brian, before we wrap up these series, and we got to take this show on the road, but we'll have that conversation offline. For someone who's just listening to this, how do you get started? Because I feel like like you speak a different language in some ways.
You're probably right.
Like you've been
Yes.
Like you've been going around your life running contact centers, agents are not happy, you buy them pizza, you do incentives, you look for raises, you advocate, you do all, like you've kind of been living your life, and then you run into these guys and they're like, wait a second. You've been like brushing your teeth in this up and down motion? No. And I think it's that foundational. So how have you found, what's the best way for someone who's trying to get immersed and get into this there? What's the first thing? Is it that report we keep talking about? Is that the place to start?
So it's funny because the report is a good place. because as I have talked to several people, I said, do you know how long for me to explain everything and how it's different and put it in context takes me? A really long time. So that's why I wrote the report, because then people can see it, they can digest it on their own and start to see, because all the time, especially BPOs, are like, oh, we already do this. Oh, we already got this. We don't need this because we already have it. And it's like, how do I explain you don't? So then the next step is, like, once again, engage me, engage Fifth Talent. And we have a simple approach, because it's like, pick out an experiment group, we'll survey them, and then do the visioning session with the leaders, the developing others course with the management of that group, serving others course with those agents, typically in a it's probably small enough it doesn't even have to go to train the trainer, and we just show you what changes. I mean, it's like they do it. We don't do it. At the end of the day, I'd like to say, hey, we do all of these things. No, we shift the mindset to where then people are inspired and say, I like this other way. It's better. And guess what? I mean, not only did we say that agents have meaningful work, then the supervisors have meaningful work, because their meaningful work coming from the agents. It's great for leaders, because the leaders have meaningful work. They feel good about what they're doing because their people, direct reports and beyond, are loving their job and they're making a difference for people.
And I think that's a beautiful place to leave it, because that's the thing we also forget. Most of the people in your contact centers who are in service are in it because they want to serve others. And it goes all the way. The leaders want to serve their people. So if you allow them to do that better, you get all the upsides from there. And then that cascades down to the next layer. And if you allow them to love their jobs, and then it gets to the next sets of people serving people. And that's what we've forgotten. Look, I could talk to you for a few more hours, and we'll we will probably have to bring you back at a time when you've solved all the world's problems, and you would tell us how you did it. But Brian, we cannot thank you enough.
Thank you.
This has been the hours you've spent here, and I think we'll be sharing this for a long time. I've learned a lot, and I hope our audience has too. Brian, thank you so much for joining the show.
Thank you. This has been great. All right.
You've been listening to an Amos Talks production.